Ellis Island and immigration. Ellis Island was in use from 1892 to 1954. It was an area located along the New York Harbor near Manhattan. Originally owned by Samuel Ellis, the land was then bought by New York and sold to the federal government. Most immigrants coming through the island were European, but there were also some from the West Indies, Asia, and the Middle East. The voyage to America could last several weeks or even months. Most immigrants would travel in steerage, where the conditions were harsh and very crowded. Immigrants came to America to discover new opportunities. Some left their home countries due to poor weather conditions, lack of job opportunities, seeking religious freedom, or to escape their governments. In America, they hoped to live in a democratic country, find more job opportunities, natural resources, and the right to freely practice their religion. Others came due to specific problems in their countries, like the Irish, who left when the potato famine hit. Upon arrival to Ellis Island, immigrants would be examined by doctors to determine whether or not they would be healthy enough to enter America. Immigrants who failed the first medical exam would be marked with chalk and kept for further inspection. With large numbers of immigrants coming to America, cities were becoming very overcrowded. Most new immigrants had to live in small apartments called tenements, located in center cities. Most had a lack of heat, windows, and bathrooms. Whole families would usually share one room. With such large numbers of immigrants arriving in America, businesses often took advantage and offered lower pay and hazardous conditions. Most were desperate for money and would accept the jobs. In today's world, laws have been introduced to ensure suitable working conditions and minimum wage laws. Immigrants usually settled with others who came from their home country and set up areas like Chinatown and Little Italy. This made it easier for immigrants to speak to others in their own languages. With the number of people rapidly increasing in America, the number of votes for public officials were also increasing and changing. Nowadays, immigrants come to America through customs. As part of my research, I interviewed my step-grandfather, Gerard Hesden, who immigrated to America from England when he was 13 years old. So what was life like where you lived in England?
There was no real place to play or see the road, all the bombed out buildings.
Why was it bombed out?
Well, from the Second World War, the German planes bombing. England was an island. You had to import everything. So the only way to do it was by ship. Now Liverpool was a big port, and that's where the Germans picked on. Mostly German. Liverpool, London, Southampton, all over. And that's where all the bomb that building went. Of course, all that.
Was it scary?
Yes. Yes, very scary. You could hear the bombs coming over, the flying bombs, as they call them at the time. And as long as you heard the engine of the bomb, you were fine. But when it stopped, that's when the bombs dropped. And you never know where they were going to land and drop. We lived there when that was going on, the bombing was going on, when the air raid shelters or down on the subways, just to get away from the bombs.
So why did your family come to America?
My dad was over here before the Second World War, and he really liked it. And he always swore he'd come back. But when the war started, nobody could come back then. So, but he swore he would come back, and 48, that's when he came back. He came back, his mom and dad, and us kids had to stay there till he got at home together, and then we came over then. I came over by myself because I was illness. And I couldn't come here until that illness was cured up.
What was the illness?
TB, spots on my lung. And you couldn't leave England till that was cleared up. Ellis Island was still open, but not receiving passengers. Because then if you had an illness in Ellis Island, you were kept there till cured, or you could turn you back. You had to go back. Well, it took a year for it to clear it all up, and then I came.
How did you come and what year?
Came by boat in 1953, 2 days after the Queen was coming here. And that was fun, because I got to go to street parties. Every street had a party. The ship, it was a lot of fun on the ship.
Were you in steerage on the boat?
No, I was in tourist. In tourist, I was traveling by myself, and 7 days. It was absolutely great. I had a good time on the ship.
How old were you?
I was only 13, but I had a second cousin. It was a steward in the first class, but his friend was a steward in tourist. So he looked after me, and I got all first class food. I got in the morning breakfast served to the cabin, which is nobody ever got. And so it was great. I was almost sad when I got pulled into New York.
Who watched after you on the ship?
The person and my second cousin's friends. When you're traveling alone, the purser's in charge of it. He's like the mailman, the money, keep hands on money and safe and all like that. They keep track of it. And the cabin, certain decks on the ship, they had the stewards that looked at the people, waited on all like that. So that's what it was.
So what was it like when you got to America?
Totally different. Totally different. There was no bombed out buildings, lots of cars, television. If we didn't have television in England, you have to be rich to have television. So when I walked in the living room for the first time, there was a television. I sat there and watched television for a day and a half, 2 days. Then I went out to play.
So how were your new living conditions compared to the ones you had in England?
Oh, enormous. There was, in England at the time, there's still rationing on food, candy, and get a bar of chocolate was a big treat in England. You know, you come over here, you can go in any store and get a bar of chocolate. You know, the kind of candy you wanted to. And so it was totally different.
So what is that?
This isn't passenger list. All your ships, when it's out, they have to have this. And when you get on board a ship, they check it off and tells you, you know, where you're traveling from, where you're going, and that's what that is. That's called a manifest or a passenger list.
Did anybody greet you when you got off the ship?
Yes. My dad and two brothers. And I don't know. When I walked off the ship, my aunt had made me a brand new suit with short pants. So my dad saw me coming down the gangplank in short pants. He was mortified. So he told my brother, bring the long pants. So as soon as I came off the gangplank, we went to the bathroom and I changed into long pants. And we went through New York. And one of the biggest things I was shocked or amazed at was seeing a cop with a gun on the side, wearing a gun. I was terrified. You know, I'd never seen a man carrying a gun before.
Why not?
Police in England didn't carry guns. They didn't carry guns. Only at certain times when you knew a convict was in that area, that's when certain police were allowed to carry guns. Other than that, you never saw a policeman. You never saw anybody with a gun. That's right.
So are you glad you decided to immigrate to America?
Oh yeah, yeah. If I didn't come here, I wouldn't have this. Wouldn't have my family. That was the best thing. That's the greatest thing.
Nowadays, immigrants come to America through customs. There are several different types of immigration, such as family-based, employment-based, refugee, diversity visas, and applying for U.S. citizenship. Family-based immigration allows for residents to bring over certain family members to America. Employee-based immigration allows immigrants who have valuable skills to arrive in the United States. The diversity visa is put in place to take more immigrants from countries with lower rates of immigration. Refugees are allowed to stay in the U.S. if they fear persecution in their home country because of race, religion, politics, or social group. In order to apply for U.S. citizenship, immigrants must have a green card for 5 years. If they receive the green card from a spouse who is already a U.S. citizen, they must only have it for 3 years. Another way that many immigrants come to the United States today is by illegally crossing over the border into America. This is primarily done through Mexico. Estimates put the number of illegal immigrants living in the United States as high as 20 million people. This has made immigration one of the most controversial issues currently facing our government. Congress has been unable to pass any new laws to deal with the problem. As a result, President Obama has been using executive orders to deal with the problem. This has led to numerous battles in Washington over the issues between Democrats and Republicans. Immigration to the United States today is certainly very different than it was 100 years ago.